So the reason that I'm really happy that you're here is because you did a column recently in the Daily Signal, and you actually looked at the demands of some of these protesters.
Right.
I was fascinated. I mean, this list is scary, guys. I mean, this is really serious stuff right here. Okay, so thank you for coming, because they want to defund the police 100%.
Right.
You said they want to abolish the courts.
Mm-hmm.
They want to abolish imprisonment. They want to retry all persons of color convicted of violent offenses. That one I really want you to elaborate on. They want to staff 911 with mental health experts, establish citywide rent controls, ban evictions, socialize medicine, grant citizenship to illegal immigrants, and provide reparations to African Americans. I don't see anything about George Floyd in here. What is going on?
No, what this is essentially is a desire to reshape America. And you look at that list, and what jumps out to a lot of people right away is that this list is not compatible with a constitution that values liberty. Okay. So that's what this list is. It's an attempt to rewrite the America that we live in, and to frame it around these social and economic desires rather than a document that protects liberty for everyone.
But this is beyond the pale. I mean, when you talk about retrying all persons of color convicted of violent offenses, you point out in your column that we're not talking about them not having had a jury of their peers. We're talking about now ethnicity. If they're black, then they want a black jury.
Exactly right. The problem for these people is that a jury of your peers is not a jury of your community you live in. It has to be, for them, a jury made up of people of the same skin tone. And they think that if you are not getting a jury that looks like you can't have justice.
Oh my, Dr. Allen, we've crossed a line here. I'm wondering if we've crossed to the point of no return, because right now the protesters are still out and the churches are still closed. What are you thinking about this list?
Well, what I think when I hear that list and when I survey the scene before us is there's a lesson for us to learn. Mm-hmm. The lesson is that if you refuse to cooperate, you will be indulged. And if you're willing to cooperate, you will be abused. Mm. And that's a lesson that people have to learn.
Wow, you need to repeat that one.
Settling back, obeying the law invites abuse.
Right.
Disobeying, defying the law invites indulgence.
Wow.
And that list grows out of that indulgence, because when you're indulged, you can ask for anything. Ask for the moon. You're going to be indulged.
But there are people trying to give them this list. Henry, I was just with a friend who lives in Louisville, and she says that they are now at the Attorney General's home, and they are demanding that if he does not indict these police officers that were responsible for the death of a young woman, then they are going to destroy this city, period. What do we do?
What we do is we hold firm to ideals and principles that are actually broadly shared. And there's not a single thing on that list that contains anywhere close to majority approval in this country, not even among Democrats. This is an extreme list for a list of extremists who don't want to participate in democratic politics. They want to participate in force-driven revolutionary politics and scare people. What is required when people are trying to scare you is to keep your head about you and not be scared.
Yeah, but they're getting this. I don't know. I mean, the people are afraid, and they're trying not to be afraid, I suppose, but they're not seeing the type of leadership they want. There are police departments that are now being defunded. There are city people that are kowtowing to it. We don't know what the Attorney General in Louisville is going to do, but they are threatening to destroy that town, and you're not seeing level-headed people say, no, you're not. I understand that there was a counter-protest, but it was the counter-protesters that were pushed back, if you will.
Yeah. Well, we saw this in the 1960s when Indulgence was the response to urban rioting after the mid-1960s. And Indulgence produced more rioting, and eventually people who had courage, like Ronald Reagan, won the day because they were always backed by public opinion. Okay. What was required was somebody to finally stand up and tell the terrorist emperor that he had no clothes. Right. And once people were willing to do that, it actually faded rather quickly.
Yeah. So you think folks are listening and they're watching and there is no support for eliminating police departments
even a majority support, even within the Democratic Party. There's no support for abolishing the courts. Medicare for all is still widely disapproved of. Everything on that list that has been polled is not supported even by a majority of Democrats. This is an attempt by a minority to get their way through non-democratic means. And so far, people have been hoping on the Democratic side largely, because that's largely the people who they're appealing to, like the Attorney General, as you were talking about.
Well, he's actually a Republican. He's
well,
a
that's
newly
the Attorney
elected
General of Kentucky, not of
Kentucky,
Louisville.
not
yeah.
right. I'm sorry.
But the fact is, if people who can, what they're hoping is basically that this will go away.
Right.
That it's a temper tantrum, and that if you indulge or ignore the temper tantrum, the baby will cry itself out. And what we know is that this is the sort of thing that if a dedicated minority wants to pursue it, they won't cry themselves out. You actually eventually have to stand up and establish what the line is.